Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Harebrained Games. Today we're going to talk about a game called The Lost Ruins of Arnak. This is not a new game. This is a game that came out around 2020 by Min and Elwin. It is a 1 to 4 player game in which you are foraging through the jungle, finding resources and doing research and discovery in order to do what everyone who's ever watched the Temple of Doom has done, which is to collect the most victory points and win. For Indy! Anyway, let's take a look. Okay, let's go over what comes in every box of Lost Ruins of Arnak, or however you pronounce it. Arnak? Arnak. We'll go with that. I like the Anyway, you get this box with its glorious cover. I like it. Some people despise it, but I actually find it charming and was one of the compelling reasons to buy it. But anyway, you get this glorious two-sided board. I will show you the initial side that we play on. In it, you can see lots and lots of details, lots of things that just evoke the idea of a jungle, adventure, indie kind of experience going on. All about you've got areas at the top for card play, because card play is one of the facets of the game, and you've got locations which you will be exploring and discovering wonderful sights and sounds, and then you've got the research track, which is where you're going to be searching and logging all of your great exploits. There's a ton of components. These are the base components that come in the game. You've got your gold, which is the least fanciful of them. You've got your explorer tokens, which you'll use to explore. You'll also have these archaeological tablets, which are, I'm sure it says, be sure to drink your Ovaltine in Sanskrit. And then we've got a few extra things that will come into play as you begin to play. Other than that, you have certain tiles, a variety of tiles and discovery tokens that go on the board as you begin your game. One of the things that this game has, it's very vertical, like extremely vertical. And so this is the core board. There's also this board here, which is supposed to lay out flat underneath here, but because I'm showing this to you, I'm just going to show this to you with the main board. Understand this could pull out, your resources could go there instead of one of these handy GMT trays. You have exploring locations. So for example, you'll see these are going to get placed onto different slots. And when you do that, you're going to be able to get the resources from that exploration. But you're also going to get a guardian who says, "What are you doing in my swamp?" Or "What are you doing near my awesome aviary, like the hideout?" Anyway, and those have different ramifications as well. You've got level 1 and level 2, and then you have assistants. Over time, as you play the game, you're going to be able to grab one of these assistants. They're going to give you bonuses, and everyone is going to get a main board. Now, if you come with the original game, you're going to get, it's 2 to 4 players. Everyone comes with the same deck. Everyone comes with the same board. This is for the AI opponent on the back. On the front, you have your standard board. Now, again, we have the regular manual, which the rule book goes over everything. Didn't find any issues with it. Nice and bright and colorful and shiny. Definitely easier to read Lost Ruins of Arnak than Burn Cycle. You also get I also have this. This is Expedition Leaders, which is one of the first expansions that came out. Instead of giving everybody the same baseline starting pack, there's a set of actual leaders, custom boards for each player that give a few little differences to get you started. And some of those are Avast and some of them are not. Avast, maybe. So, for example, you get the mechanic, you'll get some of the others, journalist. I think that comes in the second expansion pack. And so each player is going to get their own custom set of things going on, and they are very custom. They're not not kidding. And that's what these boards are for. Each player gets a custom one, and so these get retired in lieu of these custom boards. And finally, you also have the second expansion pack, the Missing Expedition. We're not going to go cover the campaign. I may do that in a subsequent video. This comes with a few extras that you can throw into the mix as well, some different sites and stuff. Expedition Leaders, you can throw all those in, but then there's specific campaign pieces as well when you want to play this campaign. A very sizable campaign and stuff. Lots to pack in the box, and to be honest with you, it barely fits, and I had to make some changes. But that's what comes in the game of Lost Ruins of Arnak. Now let's get into an example of how you play. Okay, the object of the game is to win. You win by scoring the most points. I beat Dum Dum every time. I wish. How you do that is you're going to play 5 rounds, and in those 5 rounds, you're going to be given an opportunity to take actions during the round. And as you're playing, you're going to be taking certain core actions. These are main actions. We'll go over that. So you've got your main actions here. These are things you can do. You can dig at a site. You can discover a new site. You can take on a guardian, which is way less interesting than it sounds. You can buy items, item cards. You can buy artifact cards. And you can play a card because some cards have free actions and some don't. You can research, which is really the essence of this track here. And you can pass, which you probably don't want to do first off on your turn. That gets sad. Yeah, and that's what you can do. The key here is you start off, everyone has their, I have a custom, I've decided to play with the captain. The captain is, I could use the standard boards, but for this one, I'm going to go ahead and just show you a little bit of the captain. I'm going to show you both one of the specialists that comes in the expansion, and I'm going to show you how to play the AI. And the AI is included in the base game. So for those of you who want to just do the main game, you're going to not, some of these are going to be a little bit spicier. Although I, to be honest, would never play Lost Ruins without the expeditions. But your mileage may vary because I don't know what kind of car you have. All right, so the leader here, everybody, whether you're using the specialist or not, has a board. This board is going to hold your deck of 6 cards. Everyone starts with 4 cards that in leader pack are custom to them. If not, then everyone starts with the same 4 cards. And then you grab 2 fear cards. Fear cards are negative cards. They do have the benefit that you can run. You can use this symbol to run because it's fear. Fear. Ooh, shaky atmosphere. Wow. Anyway, yeah, you get negative points for those at the end of the game if you still have them in your deck. Otherwise, you start with these 4 cards here, and what you do is you shuffle them. It's real simple, and you grab the first 5, and you say, okay, I'm ready to roll. What am I going to do? And of course, I'd get the fear cards first, wouldn't I? All right, so on your turn, and we're playing the AI. The AI is very simple. It has 10 placard cards, and it's going to basically, its goal is to basically just kind of mess with your world. There's the difficult, and then there's the easy version of the AI. We've set up for the easy version just to show you. The rules do say that you should use one of the non-player colors, or use the meeples from the non-player colors. I didn't like that. These come extra. I always have spare meeples, and so I just grabbed 6 meeples to use elsewhere so that I don't have to keep, because I like to keep components in such a way that any player, I could just hand them something and say, there you go. It's just easier for me. And instead of using a magnifying glass, we're just going to use gray meeple because it's great. All right, so AI starts first, and what does the AI do? You flip a tile and you do what it says. Well, some of those actions you saw, for example, buying an artifact, or buying a card, or doing all these things we're going to go over. The AI says, buy an artifact, buy the cheapest one on the list. Well, at the start of the game, on turn 1, there's only 1 artifact at a time, and there's 5 tool cards. Over the course of the game, as this round decision maker goes 2, 3, 4, 5, you're going to see a shift for more artifacts and more items. What do the items do? The items are practical things that you can use to sway the game, manipulate resources, because at the end of the day, the resources and the transmogrification of resources and the movement of resources is really what the core of the game underneath it is. And so we have 1 artifact and 5 tools. So the AI, this is as simple as the AI is. It just says grab that, call it good. Now, in the more difficult version of these tiles, it'll say grab the one with the highest victory point value, because these are also worth points. And then you refresh. How refreshing is that? Okay, now it's our turn, and we have opportunities and choices. We get to start off, because we're the second player, with a coin already, and an explore token. What does that mean? Well, we don't know yet, because things cost things. Now, I have the captain here gives me an extra meeple. That's pretty cool. Otherwise, you only have 2 meeples to explore with, 2 explorer meeples. You can go to any of these base sites for paying the cost here, and the cost is very basic. It basically costs you 1 boot. That's your movement. You'll notice here that you have different kinds of icons that map to different movement. As you go inland, you're going to need a car, a jalopy, from all those 19s, 20s kind of things. Or you're going to need a boat from, Humphrey Bogart style times. Or once you get into the next tier of discovery, you're going to need double of those icons and double of the explore tokens. Again, we'll get into it. So say, for example, that I wanted to dig at a site, and I'm not going to go through this completely. This is just an example of play. This isn't a playthrough. I might do that someday. I might start doing that, but I don't think I'm going to be awesome at it, so I'll have to wait till I feel more comfortable. But say we want to explore. We can explore here, and we get the booty. We get 2 coins. We explore here, we get 2 explorers. We go explore here, we get these 3 symbols. Now these 3 symbols are important for unlocking different things that you can do, and that particularly feeds into this research track. In order to actually start moving up the research track, you have to take your magnifying glass and turn in these to do a research action and move up the chain. You always, magnifying glass always goes before your book token. Why is that? Well, because you got to discover things before you can write about them. Otherwise, you're just writing fiction, and we all know this is a non-fiction game. So we're going to leave those there for now. So say, for example, I wanted to grab this as my first action. So I would grab 2 tokens. Yay! I'd be good. And that's my main action. Now, I could have done other things. I could have used anything with a lightning bolt. You can use to your heart's desire to configure and conspire anything you want. So right now I could say, you know what? I could use this flash action, give up my coin, and be able to fly, which is the highest form of travel. Basically, if you've got a pilot icon, you can fly anywhere, or you can spend 2 coins and hire a pilot. Because if you've got boots, well, you can also use a ship or a car as a boot. You can use a plane as any of these. So there's a hierarchical understanding of how travel works here. But say, for example, that I didn't want to use this yet. Okay, I've used that location. I've grabbed 2 coins. I don't know how to worry about it. So we go to the AI, flip it over. So simple. The AI says, oh, it's round 1. Let's discover a site. It takes a meeple. It grabs one of these. There's an order of priority. When you're discovering, you go top down. And so it looks for, but there's nothing here yet. And so we're going to use this direction arrow and go, okay, go to the top, go to the far right, place our token. We get this, which goes here, which gives 3 points to the AI at the end of the game. Boo! And we place our token here. The AIs don't collect resources. If it was us, we would be collecting these resources right now. But it also places a guardian. So not only that, but now, roar, we got Charlotte's angry web. Now that's okay for the AI, not so much for us. If we were to discover this, we would get these resources, but if we don't find a way to contend with this monster by the end of the round, when we pull our meeples back, we have to take another fear card. A fear card is a -1 card. It clogs our deck and it takes points away. However, if during the course of time I want to fight this guardian, by doing economic battle, then I would discard a card, give up a coin, give up one of these blue arrowheads, which aren't easy to come by, and I would defeat this monster. Is there a value to it? Yes, it has a special flash action you can always use anytime to exile a card and get rid of a card. Now, which cards would you get rid of? Well, obviously you'd want to get rid of your fear cards. That's generally what you want to do most of, but it's a way to thin the deck. And then you flip it over, and at the end of the game, whether you use it or not, it's 5 points at the end of the game, so that's pretty cool. All right, so then we go back to us, and we're like, well, what do I want to do now? Well, I want to explore too, so I'm going to use these 3 coins. I'm going to explore here. I need to find an icon. Darn it, I don't have an icon that matches it. This makes me, oh yes I do, I have this. I have the transmission boat. Now, instead of using it for its action, I can instead use it for its icon to say I'm going to pay the travel cost. It goes into my play area, and I pay the travel cost, I do that. Now I too get a special token. Not only do I get this over here, and with my special archaeological find, I am so happy. See my happiness? And then I flip it over here, and I also get this bonus, which is, these are pretty rare. These rare gems are used at different points to go up the track, and you're going to want them to. Then we too need to take a guardian, not of this galaxy, and so now we know that by the end of the round, if I don't decide to tackle this dude, then I'm going to pay the price of a fear card, and that's it. That's the end of my turn. These little micro turns actions going around. So here we discover, okay, so our AI is going to go, use the arrow, go here. He's just discovered this. Great. There's no research, whatever. And so that's it. That's literally the whole turn. That's what makes the AI kind of pretty cool in my eyes. All right, now we're done. So what do we do? Well, I know what we do. We're going to use this. We're going to pay the cost. Then we're going to move here. Look at that. We've started our research. We get a point at the end of the game. Notice that if we get all the way up here at the end of the game, we could get up to 23 points. This is pretty potent. And afterwards, if we pay additional resources, we could grab some of these coupons once we're up here. Oh, I didn't. Haha. Silly man. All right. So that's what you can do. And what do I get? Well, my reward is a coin. Now, if I had managed to get my book here, instead of a coin, I would get to choose an assistant. I could take any of these assistants. Like, say I wanted to get rid of fear cards because I have a lot. I'd put it here. This is an instant action. If I use it, and I can use it at any time, I can get rid of a fear card out of my hand. Good for me, good for the environment. And so there you go. And so that's how that research action goes. And so you'd have that done. Again, you just keep flipping tiles and do actions with whatever the AI says. If it was another player, obviously they do their own thing. The other thing, of course, is as you get more coins, you're going to want to buy cards. You buy a card and you look for here and you see, okay, the victory point's cool, but look at what you get out of it. Look at these cool things. Exile this card and you gain 3 exploration tokens. Wow. Or I could use this as an instant action. And I like this, and that's going to give me a coin and expert. So I like this. I'm going to take this. I put it at the bottom of my deck so that it comes up as sooner than later in my subsequent action. That's what separates items from artifacts. Items are ones you want to use, and generally speaking, you're going to want to figure out what items you think are going to bolster you early on in the early turns. Later on, it's going to be less important because as your deck gets larger, unless you can thin it, you're going to find that you'll buy stuff, but you might not be able to take advantage of it other than the victory points. That might be worth it towards the end game because it's 3 victory points, but others might not. So the items you're going to be focusing on early in the game, and that's why the shift goes. As later on in the game, the items become less important and the artifacts do. Why? Because if I was to choose to buy an artifact, I would have to pay using explore tokens, but I would get to use this right away. So for example, if I bought the ruby can holder, yes, spam, open the spam, then I would be able to use this right away. I wouldn't have to wait. It wouldn't have to go into my deck yet. I would get to use whatever the special action was. Then I would put it in my play area. Now, I might come cycling back up later. If I bought this in round 1, it's almost guaranteed to come out later. But if it comes out later into my hand, I'm going to have to pay an artifact token. An ancient M&M, as it were, in order to be able to activate this again and use it. So that's what separates the cards as far as what they do and how they do it. And you're going to continue to do this. I think I've showed pretty much everything. You dig at a site and, you get whatever you get out of it. So on a subsequent turn, for example, if I was to say have something here and no one had taken it, well, I would just put that here. I would get the benefit from it. Yay. Again, if it had a guardian, and I put it there and I didn't get rid of the guardian, I would take another fear card. So you definitely over time might want to get rid of the guardians. Then again, you can discover a new site, and again, if you pay 6 coins and you pay the travel cost, you're going to get these, and these level 2s tend to be much mightier as far as the rewards that they bless you with. And that's, yeah, buy an artifact, play a card. Yeah, you do all these things. Again, you have the instant actions, and then you have main actions. If it doesn't have this, then when you use an action on a card, you're paying the whole cost of the card. For example, here you would play this as part of your turn, and it would not be an instant action. You draw a card from the bottom of your deck. Well, that's pretty cool. That means that I could, that means that I would get, if I play my cards right, then I'd be able to use this to great advantage. And so that would be my turn. Then we go to the other people to do turns, and over and over. And why is it important for the timing? Because as you know, you can't place where other people have placed. And so for the AI, for example, its job is to go find all the ways to hide, to plug up the areas that you might need to have advantage, because resources are so critical here. As you get up higher up there, you're going to need these blue arrows, and those aren't as easy to come by. And so you're contending with that over and over through the game. The last thing I would say is also remember that you have instant actions, and everybody, no matter which player character you're playing, has instant actions. You have the ability to trigger these actions here by using your discovered tiles. Now, when you gain these, you get the benefit. And there you go. Now, right now, I have 4, 5, 6. You have 10 points already. If you never do any of these or activate any of these, you're set. You're fine. But if for some reason you're just in a bind and you just need that one more resource to trigger a cascade of great point gathering, you may decide, you know what? I'm going to lose a point here, and cover this over. I still get my 3 points, but now I've lost a point. And I'm going to do one of these special actions. Again, grab a blue arrow. Do these, grab an extra card. Leaders can give you an extra a flying icon and all that stuff. And you can do that. Now, the more you get these Guardian tokens, you're going to have to make harder decisions. Like, okay, well, I'm going to do, is it worth losing 2 points to get one of these special actions? Well, it might, because if I can convert to get a red key, if I'm, for example, right here and I only need a red jewel to get up here, the difference between 16 and say 23 is enough to justify losing a couple points. But these are the interesting trade-offs that you're going to make in this game. You're going to do this whole thing until everyone passes. If you can't do anything more, you've exhausted every opportunity, you pass. We move this over here. Or we get rid of, I forget, yeah. You get rid of cards, and you move cards, and you replace. So you're replacing, every round you have one more artifact and one less item. Because again, this becomes more important during the game, this becomes less important. And you do that. You go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rounds. When you're done exhausting everything you can do after 5 rounds, here's your score pad for as far as you're up on the resource track, for any of these that you collect, for any of these explore tokens that you get points. If you conquer any guardians, then you're going to get 5 points for those. If you have item cards, you're going to count those up, all of the values on the bottom, and then you're going to reduce that score by the number of fear cards you have. And that's going to be your total. And that's really the essence of Lost Ruins of Arnak in its core essence. So with that, let's get into an example of my final thoughts. Okay, final thoughts on the Lost Ruins of Arnak. As always, we go over the cons first, then the pros. Weightlifting. And my final thoughts. So, as far as cons go, we'll just get into it. For all of its lush visuals and evocative jungle adventure vibe and bright colors and items and artifacts and components, this game is at its heart a resource exchange program. You have to, as a player, rise above the reality that this is basically just trading resources, moving units. You must yourself imbue the sense of adventure. You can use all of the different glorious visuals as a catalyst for that, but it is not going to give you this great glory grand adventure that you would look at the box art and hope for. At least I hoped for. It's tensionless. It really is. This is not a game, despite the fact that it has fear cards and it has monsters and all that stuff. They're really not. They're really just not. You know, you defeat this richly drawn, voracious monster that you're coming up against in the game by providing it a charcuterie tray of local knickknacks. Okay, I'm a native Mauian and I have always dreamed of owning my own Bend Maui fridge magnet. It seems odd to me. Like it's not something you have to set that aside. And the fear cards really aren't fear cards, they're annoy cards. Whatever, I get it. They're trying to keep it light and positive, whatevs. And also the deck building is narrow. This isn't a deck builder. This is a deck builder worker placement, and the deck building itself is it's narrowly and situationally and contextually something you drive intentionally to add a few cards, but you are not doing the build out Dominion level big choices available. It's there and it's tantalizing. There's really good cards and fun cards, but the deck building part is narrow. If you're looking for that or you have looked for that, this isn't the game that's going to fully satisfy that. The research track has been discussed ad nauseum as far as whether it is the thing that matters the most and the adventuring is secondary, or it is the only thing that matters. I can't debate that. I've read and watched quite a few things regarding it, but ultimately I find that in a balanced, just casual to slightly competitive casual experience, you're going to need to bump up the research track. You're going to use and fuel that with the adventuring that you do. They go hand in hand in lockstep. That's how the games have generally worked for me, and I played quite a few of them now. And plus you also have the alternative boards. Your expansion packs come with different boards and stuff that kind of push in different directions for how you can play the game. And so take it for what it is. Some people really do find that if you want to just hunker down on the research track, that really is the thing that matters the most. So your school of thought may vary. The base game has quite a few options, and you've got your different cards, different artifacts, nice big stack of cards, and you'll play it a lot, and you'll see different aspects and different elements. But the actual general flow of it can feel formulaic with just the base game. Over the course of time, many times that might be fine if you don't mind formulaic experience with a few subtle input changes here, but it can start to feel that way. There are people that, when I played it, just did not like the artwork. I don't know why. I'm just laying that out there. That's not how I feel, but they just felt like it was a trope or a cliche or whatever. I did not have that problem. And finally, there's little player interaction that you're going to experience here. It's the most you're going to have is, I got here first. And so there's nothing there that's going to provide any additional tension points to you. You're all going to go along your merry way and run your little plans and see how it goes. And yeah, and that's it. And those are generally the cons. Not that big of them, other than, again, like, if you expect a great tension-filled, exciting, I mean, there's so many games. There's other games that imbue that sense of adventure, and if you try to make this a parallel of those, you're going to probably be disappointed. Now let's get into the pros. I am all in on the artwork, I think. I actually find every element to be exquisite. The box cover is inviting. The silly smiles and whatever, but, I mean, the board is gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. Both sides of it are just beautifully hand-drawn. The cards, the artifacts are exquisitely drawn. They cement in your mind what you're buying with a nice visual. I think it's probably the best sort of jungle-type artwork I've seen since Jumbo. And I mean, it sort of pushes off it gives me this sort of Bing Crosby, Bob Hope, Road to Bali kind of feeling to it. The whole art, the style of it. I love it. I have no issues with it. The components themselves are just rock solid from a quality standpoint. Some very Etsy level kind of, like you feel like some of these might have been after products at Etsy for other games. They're thick cardboard tokens for the monster and the sight cards, and the general. The money's actually the most cardboardy of them all. The rest of the artifacts and tokens and stuff are just top notch, just quality, tactily satisfying. So the gameplay curve, the curve itself, this crescendo is something to call out as a positive. That you start off in this way with a few moves and actions per round, and then you grow until you have this nice satisfying finish. The first round, you do a couple things. You kind of set the stage, get what's going on. Even in the base game, and the lead, if you have the Expedition Leaders game, it's even cooler because you start off with a unique presence and situation, and a little few extra things you can do. But as you pick up actions, parcel out actions, pick up items, trade in items, and do your actions and procurements, eventually you're going to find yourself towards the later rounds being able to sort of like explode with a ton of options to, that become these gears and pulleys that you can eke out the most you can to build out the research track and to go explore a few things more and to buy a few more cards or do a few more things, grab things that'll just keep boosting you. And it's this feeling of boosting, these boosts forward is just kind of a nice vibe. I really like it. The exploring part is also a nice way to get this sort of package deal boost of goodies at the risk of having fear or a guardian that you may want to defeat. I mean, but again, you defeat them, they're worth points too. So like everything has a point. The fear is subtle here, and I don't look at it as I kind of look at it as a con because it's nice to have tension, but it's there, but it's not like if you get a fear card, it's the end of your game and you're destroyed and you just leave distraught. This is a game that doesn't have you. It wants you to leave feeling pretty positive. So the card deck building itself is a nicely transitioned flow through the game. I love the fact that you start off and the bulk of your cards that you can buy are items. Those are paramount. Starting off, the items are paramount. The artifacts, well, there's a few. There's rumors of artifacts here and there. And then as the rounds go over, you find the artifacts are taking over and the items become less important. And there's a good reason for that. Similar to Dominion, you initially start off and you're kind of interested in getting gold because the gold is what you use to buy the cards that eventually let you go transition to getting victory points. If you're still buying gold at the end, you're probably not doing it too right. generally. And this is the same way where you're starting your items because they have a use later. They go in your deck. They don't go. They're not randomly guaranteed when they show up. They will show up probably in the next turn, almost assuredly the next time. But you have a delay, and then you use them later, and then you might be able to use them again, maybe depending on how well you do with deck thinning, which is another aspect of this game that I think is pronounced. Being able to get rid of cards and move to different cards to keep that deck size low to afford yourself the higher probability of getting those cards that you want. And that's how the items work. But as the rounds go on, you're going to have less and less of a chance. Like if I buy this item later on in the round, I may never see it, depending on how I did with my strategy of thinning the deck. Artifacts take over there. So then, as you see the items become less important, the artifacts become more important because they're used now. I buy this, I use it now. Yeah, I could have a chance to change my station and be able to use that again at the cost of some resources, but I get to use it now. And so there's this really nice just flow of purpose to how the deck goes up. And I love the trade-offs. You get these explore tokens. You're the first one to explore this area. Well, you get this token, you get this bonus, and then you get 3 victory points. But do you use that? Do you not? Generally, you probably will. If I really am in a pinch and I'm 1 resource away from getting this done, do I go ahead and then say, all right, well, I'm going to slap it on top of the victory points I would have gained and just know that I've lost 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 victory points. But what I trigger can make up for that. And so you're making these sort of like cost-conscious decisions with your victory points. And that's sweet too. The other thing is, even in the base game, the variants are nice. It's nice to have variants for like getting more cards in the mix to see. There's the back of the map. Not even talking about the expedition leaders, which adds a ton of variety right from the get-go with very clever and unique ways to manipulate the system so that you have a unique purpose and plan and idea and special abilities and trade-offs to that. And then the AI, I got to shout out to the AI. The AI style is something I've always been akin to enjoy. I don't like just beat your own scores. There's no AI there. And sometimes it can get bogged down when you have flowcharts and bots and AI presences that really kind of, where you spend more time doing their AI than you do doing your own turn. This is great because this is the sweet spot of impact but non-complexity. It doesn't try to act sentient. It's not going to be better than a human player. Let's not even try. But it does make a mess of your plans, which is kind of what other players could do in regards to what you can do and what it goes and says, I got here first. And it also has a quick way of making it tougher or easier to beat really simply. And its turns are 1 to 5 seconds, literally. Flip a thing, do a thing, which is great, particularly for this game. And I think the biggest joy I found in it is what I call the Paper Mario kind of approach, which is that if anyone has ever played Paper Mario, Nintendo, The Thousand Year Door, whatever, it's like, I really love games where you collect tidbits or you get these mini bonuses or these mini moments of boon that just leave you micro-satisfied all the way through the situation. This game doesn't have a grand finale per se of sorts. There's no big fireworks at the end, but it's got a lot of nice food, folks, fun items and artifacts along the way that you can get those fun little moments in the game with the right mindset. And that gets me into my final thoughts. When this came out in 2020, it was competing with 2 other games that it simply lost to, in my mind, in my play space. One of which was Dune Imperium, which I think is still, in a lot of ways, a superior overall endeavor. Not in every way, but in many ways, still a superior overall endeavor. An instant 10/10 game that's remained so, even through all of its expansions and its new version and all that stuff. It hit the ground running, it won the race instantly, and that was it. And the other one was Underwater Cities, which was similar in worker placement, a card draft affair that holds its own. The issue with Lost Ruins is that it wasn't like those games. Yes, there were similarities in a couple veins, but for the most part, it went its own way. And I wasn't at the time really that thrilled with the way that it was going. I loved tension. What I wanted, based on the art and the theme and the richness of this jungle ecosphere presented, was what the other games were going to be, particularly Dune Imperium, which is I wanted to go in as an adventurer. I wanted to feel mighty. I wanted to swath away at the underbrush. I wanted to find dangerous perils and run or fight like Indy or have big balls running after me. And there are literally games that do that, like but that's not this game. You won't run or fight like Indy, and you won't come home to a hero's parade. The game, and when it comes time to have that adventure, the game says no. Just when you start to feel like a thrill, like you're setting up for this great moment of contention, the game says no. So from 2020 to 2023, I literally just avoided it. I didn't hate it, so I kept it. I just didn't play it. I didn't really need to. But then Leaders expansion came out, and so I grabbed it, because clearly if you find a game that you're just tepid about, clearly you buy the expansion pack, right? And I brought it out, I packaged it up with the base game, and I set it aside. And then the Missing Expedition came out later last year, and again I'm like, well, I haven't played it yet. Maybe I need to just get the expansion. If nothing else, if I sell it, I can say everything came with it. And so I boxed it up and set it aside, but I always kept a curious eye on it. Because I didn't find it to be a flawed game at all. It's just a game that I'd start to feel like playing, but then be drawn away to other games that have a richer sense of tension and adventure. And so I decided a couple months ago to make a mental pivot and just dive in and do it. And the reason I did that is I set the framework, I had all the pieces out, it looked too cool, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to mentally pivot my mind. And I'm going to say, and this is the mantra, this is not an indie game, Indiana Jones type game at all. This is not a game for adventure. This is not a game for tension, no matter what the fear cards may tell you. And so I left my indie hopes and dreams behind, set them aside, my childhood adventure inspiration, and then I turned to another childhood inspiration instead. My buddy Curious George. Growing up, I loved Curious George. I had every book, everything you could find. George loves the jungle scene too. He really does. He loves to adventure. He has his little adventures. He just enjoys the jungle. And you know what? Anytime things get too scary, he just runs. In George's world, he's just going to run to the man in the yellow hat. And so I decided that I would pivot my mind, and instead of expecting this game to be what I had hoped someday some other game will be, I just decided to be that number crunching man in the yellow hat. And it really changed my perspective and my enjoyment of the game. I took the game for the huggable resource juggling journey that it is, and now I found myself immensely immersed in it, to the point that it doesn't bother me or make me feel like accounting anymore. I enjoy it. There's a zen-like flow to this game, particularly its solo or lower player counts, where I get I can take bite-sized journeys into it. I can set it up on a table, go do a round, go do some work, go do a round, go do some work, and feel like I'm coming in and out of this journey, configuring the right actions to maximize the expenditures. Because at the end of the day, it still is this game. It still is an expenditures expedition, which is probably what it should have been named to be more clear. And if one can make peace with that mindset, then there is a world of luscious fun to enjoy in this game. If you can't, totally understand. I was there. But I did make peace with it, and now I'm really enjoying it. I would never personally play without the leaders again. I do find that they are essential for giving a nice boosty start, and they're just a hoot. And the Missing Expedition, I did dabble in that a little bit. That isn't the core of this review, but it is a fun romp co-op experience that I think I'll probably end up playing more a bit. I would highly recommend it, but not critically so the way I would for Expectations Leaders. So in effect, in the end, Lost Ruins is a kind-hearted friend of a game that you may overlook if you're thirsting for adventure, but one that after all that journeying has wearied your step, you'll be content to settle down with it for a spell and enjoy your life. So thanks again, and we'll see you next time on Harebrained Games.